A lot of supplement brands chase trends, but if you're serious about your health, we know research-backed science is what actually moves the needle. Momentous works with the best brains in human science to create every formula, and every batch is made of pure ingredients, tested for safety, and does not contain fillers. So you get the best long-term results possible. Creatine isn't just for muscle gains, it's essential daily fuel for your brain, body, and long-term performance. Momentous CreaPure Creatine is backed by leading performance experts like Dr. Andrew Huberman and Dr. Stacy Sims. Sourced exclusively in Germany, CreaPure sets the gold standard for creatine, delivering the purest form, creatine monohydrate, that's rigorously washed and never cut with fillers. With over 2,000 five-star reviews, over 112,000 customers have seen the results firsthand. With Momentous, the fundamentals are done right. Right now, Momentous is offering our listeners up to 35% off your first subscription order with promo code ACAST. Go to livemomentous.com and use promo code ACAST for up to 35% off your first subscription order. That's livemomentous.com, promo code ACAST.
Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with Nectar prices. With Christmas round the corner, it's more important than ever to find value for money on your festive shop, and that means getting your party planning done early. And this Christmas, Sainsbury's have got great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get Pepsi Max 24 times 330ml for £7, a litre of Gordon's Gin and Smirnoff Vodka, both £19, and 2 for £23 on selected packs of beer, including Budweiser 20 times 200ml and Carling 18 times 440ml, all with Nectar prices. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with Nectar prices at Sainsbury's. This offer's for 18+, terms and conditions apply, Nectar required. Available in-store and online, excluding locals. Delivery fee may apply, subject to availability. Please drink responsibly. 7 things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Sunday 7.
I'm Ciara Revens in for Jamie East this week, and on today's episode of the award-winning Sunday 7, we catch up on Australia's social media ban, hear about an amazing new cancer treatment, and walk in the footsteps of dinosaurs. Plus, we'll Guyatt the Smart 7's resident tech guru get very excited about Disney's new deal with OpenAI. If you're enjoying our episodes, please do like and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We're here 7 days a week at 7 a.m. with the 7 biggest stories on the Smart 7 in association with Metro. Before we get started, though, it was on this day in 1986 that Voyager, an experimental aircraft, took off from Edwards Air Force Base in California in a bid to complete a non-stop, non-refueled flight around the world. It took 9 days with the 2 pilots, Dick Rutta and Gina Yeager, working from a cramped cockpit that was just 3 feet wide that managed to fly over 25,000 miles. This week saw Australia become the first country in the world to ban social media for people aged under 16. The legislation requires the social media platforms to enforce the ban or face massive fines, but there's no punishment for teens or their parents if they find themselves with access. Anthony Albanese, Australian Prime Minister, says that the move is an important piece of social engineering.
This reform will change lives for Australian kids and allowing them to just have their childhood. For Australian parents, enabling them to have greater peace of mind. But also for the global community who are looking at Australia and saying, well, if Australia can do it, why can't we?
The social media platforms are using data to estimate users' age and in some cases requiring selfies to ensure that they are compliant. But already Reddit has launched a lawsuit against the Australian government, claiming that the move is an intrusion on free political discourse. They're also claiming that Reddit should be exempt as it's not technically social media. Julia Inman Grant is Australia's ESafety Commissioner, and she says the government has had to take a stand against the addictive nature of social media and the dangers of the algorithm driving rage bait.
It's built into the system to keep stickiness through outragement. So the reason the Andrew Tates of the world and the online misogynists are getting so much traction is because the system is built to promote that kind of outrage. There is no other consumer-facing industry in the world where we don't expect them to make sure that there are safety standards.
If you're a teen who has an account, it's frozen until your 16th birthday, and then you can get back to scrolling. Dr. Rachel Murrihy is a clinical psychologist and director of the KIdman Centre at Sydney's University of Technology. And while she's in favour of the ban, she says there are still a number of unanswered questions.
I am 50-50. I am very happy that the government are taking these steps, and they really are world leading in terms of putting in place an emphasis on the platforms to take control over this and to make safer environments. It's not about the law, it's about the implementation of it. Are they going to be able to implement these age controls? And my other concern is that does it really equip our young people to know how to deal with risk online and to be good digital citizens?
The next question: could or should a ban work here? Melanie Dawes is the chief executive of content regulator Ofcom, and she says it's more of a pause than a ban, but it's not something that's actively being considered in the UK.
It's a delay. It's about actually postponing that moment when children get social media, and they're putting a lot of effort into education and support for those teenagers under 16 to prepare them for then what happens when they do go online with social media later.
Nandy is the UK's Culture Secretary, and she says that the government will look closely at the Australian experience, but there are more pressing issues for teens.
We're not planning to introduce this. We're operating in the real world, and this is the first strategy that this country has had for young people since before the iPhone was invented. We're putting £500 million behind it, but we're taking the world as it is. We've got young people who are online. They've grown up entirely as an online generation for the first time, and they are not only the most connected generation in history, but they're also the most isolated. That is the stark challenge that we're having to confront.
It's been another busy week in tech, so let's catch up with the Smart 7's tech guru, Will Guyatt. Well, we've been talking about big tech and AI most of the year, it seems, but Thursday saw a genuinely dramatic development in terms of AI content, didn't it?
For ages, we've heard from creatives that AI companies like OpenAI and countless others are now hoovering up content from the internet with no payment or regard for those who have created and published their works. We have seen musicians lobbying politicians, and those companies with enough financial power are threatening to sue AI companies to get compensation for their use of works. But now, in what some might feel is a bit of a if you can't beat them, join them type situation, Walt Disney has announced it's invested in OpenAI and will allow its Sora video generation app to use Disney characters. So you can expect to see me posting a video of Donald Duck and I playing cards with a cigar smoking grizzly bear just as soon as I'm able.
So it's not just a licensing deal. Disney are taking a stake on OpenAI.
Nope, they're pumping $1 billion into the company too. And let's face it, based on the numbers we recently covered, OpenAI is going to need all the cash injections it can find due to the huge costs in making this AI stuff possible with what's known as compute. Or to you and I, expensive computers in a very big and very hot shed.
Will this put pressure on other movie companies and content creators to take more of a proactive role in AI content?
Deals like this really screw the rights of the creator and let the corporations continue to generate huge amounts of cash. In music, the labels have all been suing the hell out of a company called Suno, which enables you to generate songs that on many occasions have sounded or felt very familiar. And then out of nowhere, Warner Music Group signs a deal and settles a lawsuit to mean that users will soon be able to use the voices, names and likenesses of its artists that opt into a program. So it would appear that some of the legal action taking place might just be attempting to force companies into a better negotiating position. So in short, if you're an independent creator, you're absolutely banjaxed by all of this.
And most importantly, does that mean that I can add virtual Minnie Mouse to my videos?
You absolutely can, and I'm waiting to click like.
The EU aren't too impressed by AI though, are they? Who's in trouble with big law this week?
It's Google's turn on the European naughty step this week, and the EU has now opened an investigation into whether it's breaking Commission laws by using its own Gemini AI and not offering users other examples on its search engine or YouTube. The suggestion is Google could be giving itself privileged access to the hundreds of millions of Europeans who use its services, rather than allowing other businesses in AI to get access to them. And as you might predict, Google says that this complaint risks stifling innovation in a market that's more competitive than others. They also say Europeans deserve to benefit from the latest technologies. Now, a couple of months back, the EU fined Google £2.6 billion for favouring its own digital advertising services over rivals. Let's see if 2026 is another year of big tech versus big law.
There were a couple of disturbing tech stories this week. What's happening with Donald Trump's immigration force and smartwatches?
We've covered a lot of dystopian stories over the last year, but this is about as dystopian as it gets. Pregnant immigrants are being monitored by America's Immigration and Customs Enforcement team, who mandate that they need to wear a smartwatch all the time, allowing the agency to track them. Now, these aren't Apple or Samsung devices, but one that ICE have seemingly adopted for the process of tracking people. One pregnant lady wearing one was reportedly so distressed that it started beeping and was concerned that ICE were going to come and seize her that she went to the hospital, instead of going to the hospital for emergency medical treatment. Eventually, before emergency surgery, the hospital removed the watch without knowing if it would trigger agents to swarm the hospital, as they'd been provided with no information or instructions despite treating a number of pregnant immigrants. Medical experts said that the actions of ICE were not just harming the medical treatment of pregnant people either. Others were also fitted with these tracking watches, and so far ICE has not responded to the Guardian's requests for comment, and seemingly we can get no answers on where these tracking devices came from or what the intention is.
That sounds very alarming and intrusive.
This is one of the very worst uses of this technology, and coupled with no instructions, guidance, or even clarification on why they're being used.
And we sort of learnt a lesson this week about the perils of smart tech at home, didn't we? What happened to poor Carol?
If you haven't been watching Apple TV's Amazing Pluribus from the creator of Breaking Bad, you might not get this story. But without spoiling the show, the premise is that a handful of humans have survived untouched after a virus or something yet unknown has swept the earth and combined everybody into a form of collective consciousness. Every person has the skills and memories of everyone else. One who doesn't is Carol, who's played by the fantastic actress Rhea Seehorn, who was also in the Breaking Bad spin-off Better Call Saul. And in the show, everyone keeps asking Carol how she is. So when a smart fridge ran an advert for the show asking Carol how she was, it was suggested that a real-life lady called Carol had an actual schizophrenic episode because she believed the fridge was talking to her. A post on Reddit claimed she was hospitalised as a result and spent 2 days under monitoring.
Happily, it didn't happen, did it?
As this is 2025, on the internet we'll never truly know, but there have been suggestions that this was, quotation marks, based around a joke, or in my world, a comment that wondered what would happen if you were called Carol and you were in psychosis, and this was posted a good 3 weeks before the claim was made on Reddit. So in short, sorry Carol if the ad caused you distress, or to others, stop BSing you naughty interneters.
Still to come on the Sunday 7 in association with Metro, NASA gets ready for Mars and an intriguing new approach to coffee. This week has been a busy one for NASA as they continue to prepare for the next major step in their Artemis project, which should see men and women once again land on the moon. This week saw NASA bosses launch a new program that will see a spend of nearly $5 billion over the next decade to develop new lunar surface rovers, which can operate either with crew or autonomously on the surface of the moon. While NASA works on the hardware, some of the Artemis crew have been busy testing out a life-size model of the Orion spacecraft at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Reid Wiseman is one of the Artemis crew who has been testing out the simulated spacecraft, and he posted an update this week as the clock counts down to a possible launch date in spring.
This week's been all about sims. We did a long sim with the mission management team and our engineering support team and mission control for basically all of Tuesday and Wednesday. Did a bunch of training on Thursday, and on Friday back in the sim for a bunch of ascent runs with the entire crew. We're inside about 2.5 months from our first potential launch time, and we definitely feel the pressure coming on. The teams are getting ready, and we're honing our skills.
The next launch is intended to do a fly past of the moon rather than landing directly, but a landing is due in 2027. The moon landing is only part of the Artemis project, however, with NASA's long-term goal, a manned mission to Mars, and other members of the NASA team are currently researching the carbon cycle on Earth so they can compare it to what they find on Mars. That means a whole load of NASA crew are currently in Iceland diving into bitterly cold lakes, as Dr. David Burtt, a postdoctoral fellow at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, explains.
We don't understand how the carbon cycle works on planets and planetary bodies beyond Earth. Iceland and Lake Kleifrvatn as a whole provide a really nice analog.
Iceland might seem like a strange choice, but NASA's scientific data gathered by the Mars rover has pointed them in that direction and offers some very similar terrain. Dr. Mike Thorpe, who is an assistant research scientist at the University of Maryland and works with the Planetary Environments Lab division at NASA, says the potential learnings are significant.
Our goal is to kind of look at the change of like how you go from sediments in a stream to kind of a sedimentary rock and what happens in between. They're widespread on Mars. I mean, it's almost all what Curiosity has looked at is rocks that were formed in a lake, in rivers. But really, as one-to-one comparison as I've come across. So excited to get our hands on it.
This has been a tough year for coffee lovers, but between climate change and Donald Trump's tariff wars, prices for beans are up about 25% on last year. One of the issues is that climate change is particularly affecting Arabica beans, which are traditionally the type used in our preferred lattes and cappuccinos. But Arabica beans aren't the only option. There are also Robusta beans, another variety, but one which is substantially less popular. Now Brazil's coffee farmers have turned their attention to improving the quality of Robusta beans by innovating in their harvesting and drying techniques to deliver higher quality. Douglas Gonzaga de Souza is the coordinator of the Centre for Specialty Coffees of Espírito Santo, who set the standards for coffee worldwide.
In the past, Robusta coffee like Conilon was seen as a lower quality coffee, but that story is changing. We know that if you combine proper harvest and post-harvest management, you get an excellent product in the cup with sweetness, acidity, body, and very significant sensory quality.
The next step is for Brazilian farmers to ramp up production of the Robusta beans, but with ongoing turmoil in the international coffee market, there's a real financial incentive to do so. Edmund Rees-Jones is co-lead at Boston Consulting Group Centre for Climate and Sustainability Policy and Regulation, and he explains how the pressure on the coffee market arose.
In 2021, it was a bad year, a major frost and drought caused coffee production in Brazil to fall by 20%. But prices went up 30% globally in just 1 week, and then they kept on rising. Why? Why this kind of overreaction? Well, it started when many farmers walked away from their forward contracts. And forward contracts are actually there to provide price stability between coffee farmers, coffee buyers. But when some farmers saw higher profits available in the open market, they left their buyers in the lurch. And so now the buyers can't meet their own onward commitments into the futures market. So they're scrambling to find cash to keep those positions open. They're scrambling to find new coffee supplies to meet them, and it's driving the price up higher and higher.
Still to come on the Sunday 7 in association with Metro, a major cancer breakthrough, and we trace some dinosaur footprints in Bolivia.
Right after this. Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of the Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with nectar prices. With Christmas round the corner, it's more important than ever to find value for money on your festive shop, and that means getting your party planning done early. And this Christmas, Sainsbury's have got great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get Pepsi Max 24 times 330ml for £7, a litre of Gordon's Gin and Smirnoff Vodka, both £19, and 2 for £23 on selected packs of beer, including Budweiser 20 times 200ml and Carling 18 times 440ml, all with nectar prices. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with nectar prices at Sainsbury's. This offer's for 18+, terms and conditions apply, nectar required. Available in-store and online, excluding locals. Delivery fee may apply, subject to availability. Please drink responsibly.
Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at Vanta.com.
Welcome back.
Last weekend saw a major conference in Doha in Qatar, which attracted some major names, including Hillary Clinton and Syria's new President Ahmed al-Shara. The forum hosted a wide range of viewpoints with America's MAGA representatives present, including Tucker Carlson, who interviewed Donald Trump Jr. on stage, Bill Gates, the co-founder of Microsoft, and high-profile philanthropist who addressed the forum, focusing in particular on artificial intelligence and its potential to reshape both creative industries and also become a tool that is as essential as electricity. electricity.
Fortunately, our innovation is going faster than ever. Thanks to great science, we will create new tools. We will have a vaccine for HIV and malaria. We will have the tools to end polio and make it the second disease ever eradicated. Now, artificial intelligence has come along to greatly accelerate our progress in these areas. AI will play a role not only in the scientific discovery side for new vaccines and drugs, but AI will play an incredible role in the delivery as well.
But he was also sounding an alarm bell that access to AI needs to be a universal, or Africa and developing nations will be left behind. He's keen that Africa's farmers should be a priority for access to AI tools and supports.
I believe that if we innovate by empowering those farmers, giving them an AI that's giving them advice, giving them understanding about their soils and how to improve those soils, giving them new seeds, giving them new livestock, that the opportunity for that sector is to more than overcome those headwinds and turn this into the primary area of economic growth and make Africa not only self-sufficient to help solve some of the malnutrition problems, but also a significant net food exporter.
This week saw extraordinary news for patients suffering from a rare type of blood cancer that until now was considered to be untreatable. A new trial focused on the disease called T-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia has produced remarkable results with a 64% success rate for patients in the trial and some patients remaining cancer-free for 3 years. Teenager Alyssa Tapley took part in the gene therapy trial and she spoke to Radio 4 this week.
I was in Great Ormond Street Hospital for 4 months and I think we found out 3.5 months in that I was cancer-free. I can't compare that level of happiness to anything that I have ever felt. Like the amount of emotion, just going from a place where you thought that you were never going to grow up and you were never going to have a future to live to somewhere where there are endless opportunities.
The multi-step procedure, which involves gene therapy, was developed as a joint project between Great Ormond Street Hospital and University College of London. Professor Wasim Kazim is a consultant in paediatric immunology and professor of cell gene therapy at UCL, and he described the process of editing the genes in a donor's white blood cells to make them more resistant to the cancer before a bone marrow transplant is carried out.
A few years ago this would have been science fiction, but now we can actually collect white blood cells from healthy donors and use them for their powerful immune effects by reprogramming them and asking them to go and hunt down leukemia when they're given back to patients.
Dr. Robert Chiza is a consultant in bone marrow transplantation at Great Ormond Street Hospital, and he says the results have been remarkable.
82% of the patients that would have been otherwise incurable went into a deep remission and managed to go ahead with a bone marrow transplantation. And at last follow-up, almost 70% of the patients are alive and in complete remission. So given how aggressive this particular form of leukemia is, these are quite striking clinical results.
Everyone loves a dinosaur, whether it's Barney or a terrifying T-Rex. But an unusual discovery in Bolivia has revealed an extraordinarily detailed insight into the worlds of our favourite extinct reptiles. A unique set of circumstances in the Toro Toro area of Bolivia has created a massive trail of dinosaur footprints, which have been fossilised and only just uncovered, documenting what appears to be an entire herd of dinosaurs. Dr. Roberto Biaggi is co-author of the study, which was put together by a group of paleontologists from California's Loma Linda University.
It's the largest accumulation of tracks in the world. So first we started with one area, and then later on we found that these led into another area and you could connect them all. And eventually we ended up with 9 different areas that are more or less all connected physically.
The dinosaurs appear to have been paddling or wading through a muddy lake, and when the water level rose, their prints were preserved and became fossilised. Celso Aguilar is the superintendent of the Toro Toro Park in Bolivia, and he's very excited about the enormous potential for the fascinating giant display.
It is the most important finding in the world that can be observed. 1,700 trace fossils were found, and more than 16,000 footprints were found simply in this area.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend. Written, produced and published by Daft Doris. Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of the Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with nectar prices. With Christmas round the corner, it's more important than ever to find value for money on your festive shop, and that means getting your party planning done early. And this Christmas, Sainsbury's have got great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get Pepsi Max 24 times 330ml for £7, a litre of Gordon's Gin and Smirnoff Vodka, both £19, and 2 for £23 on selected packs of beer, including Budweiser 20 times 200ml and Carling 18 times 440ml, all with nectar prices. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with nectar prices at Sainsbury's. This offer's for 18+, terms and conditions apply, nectar required. Available in-store and online, excluding locals. Delivery fee may apply, subject to availability. Please drink responsibly.
Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at Vanta.com.